once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now. And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal, go, go, go!
And welcome to the final race of PSGL F3 here and Sao Paulo at the Brazilian circuit. Fantastic circuit, this 4.309 kilometers long with plenty of opportunities for some fairly send-it overtaking. In the calendar, as mentioned, we are now on the final race. We do already have a champion of the league, that is Nomsi, but still all to play for below him. In terms of this then, we don't unfortunately have the standings graphics for today, so we will run straight in to the game screen and welcome in Mr. Daniel Gilligan.
Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon.
Probably just blown your ears out on my behalf, sorry about that.
Oopsie daisy. Well, that's to everybody who has survived the deafening, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening everybody. So yes, down to Brazil then, final round of the season. As you've rightly mentioned there, Scruffy, we've got our champion already decided, mathematically speaking, that is Nomsi. But of course, we are without the drivers' table for, as Jake Finch is now just readying up and off and up and on.
Ready.
I think he's keen to go.
Wouldn't
you know, I have a sneaking suspicion. But yes, so Nomsi is the champion. We don't have the standings, so we don't really know what's to play for further down the field. But I'm sure that once everything else has settled, we can just appreciate a good race around Brazil. And it's a fantastic circuit, though. Be careful of a few things that may well end up happening over the course of this one. We may see, because it's very powerful here, the slipstream, maintaining a train of cars, essentially. That's certainly what's happened in a few league races I've watched and even taken part in recently, where you do tend to get sort of small trains of traffic starting to form throughout the field, not really able to break away from one another all too easily, given the strength of the DRS and the slipstream. So big areas of contention, of course. We saw them in the real-life Grand Prix down at Cena de Largo, turn number 4, as you can see on the map right now. And of course, with that particular corner, it's obviously power to the car on the inside. If you're able to just keep your position there on the apex, your opponent is not able to go all the way around you, then you control that place. And another great opportunity for some re-overtaking, if you are the pursued player, is out of the center S's. If you're able to get your rivals up onto a higher line, and then take the inside line yourself, and then just be able to slingshot your way out of turn number 2, round the inside line of turn number 3, use a bit of VRS, then power down that straight towards Cena de Largo. You get that DRS, you'll then be able to get an overtake done and get back ahead. So a couple of areas there then in the first sector in particular to look out for. Through the second sector, a lot of tight and technical twisty corners there, so unlikely that we'll see much in the way of overtaking there, I'm sure. But then in the third sector, that's where we're going to see an awful lot of action as well. We've got the final corner, Junsao, or the final proper corner really, and then straight after that it's then that run up the hill all the way up to the line and then into that center S at turn 1 as well. So let's strap in, everybody. We are heading into the session, into this qualifying session here, and Scruffy, in terms of this one, then, what are you thinking in terms of our protagonists for this one?
I mean, at the end of the day, Luke Smith is still up there. He's still fast. Carter, I haven't seen too much from Carter in the last few races. In brutal honesty, because the last few races, streams haven't exactly gone our way. We haven't had much tech luck, unfortunately. I'd still say Nomsi is 100% up there. Nomsi, I believe, being Simon Perroni, who is basically jumping to the league right now, I think. But because we don't have the graphic, I cannot confirm yes or no whether that is Simon, apparently. I think this track is one of those interesting ones. I really hope we don't see a Verstappen-Hamilton moment. It could happen with a lot to play for, so we just kind of got to hope that that doesn't happen, as we're currently sat waiting for the first drivers to leave their pit box.
Absolutely. Nice and sunny conditions here in Sao Paulo today. And, of course, that may all change come the race, rather. This is qualifying, of course. But yes, once we're into the race, it may well change. Of course, Brazil has been known to have inclement weather in the past, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we're going to have an evening like that today. So Neon is one of the first drivers to leave their pit box,
Williams,
but just ahead of them on circuit is the Williams. There you are then. So we've got the Williams then of, I believe that is...
Leonard, maybe?
Leonard's, yep, that's Leonard there. And then just behind them there is another car as well. Forgive me, the
it's 1
the
second.
game is deciding to just give me a... yes, indeed, there you go, it's 1 second. So 1 second manages to get out onto the outlap first, and then you've got Sally as well, just behind that group of cars. Marcus Thal in the other Williams is also out on circuit. Everybody else still in the pits. So, as we take a look then at 1 second, and the Red Bull just behind them as well. Or are they just ahead now? No, they're just ahead. In fact, I'm talking nonsense again. It's already started that I've started to talk absolute pandemonium. I don't know, words. Yes, indeed. So, in terms of this then, I've got all my graphics and everything sorted out here. Now, we actually have Haas, that being Primož, out there at the front of the field at the moment. They are just about to cross the line then, so the Haas crosses that line. And now down into turn one they go. Braking late then, turning in. A little bit of a lock-up on that inside front, but they were able to deal with it nicely there. Through the Senna S they go, and then keeping nice and tight on that inside line there. It's deceptively quick there. You'd expect going all the way out to the edge of the corner on exit would help. Then into the Sena de Lago we go, and they've been able to negotiate that nicely. It's one of those corners where you do want to touch the curb. We've then got a Ferrari just on circuit, just up ahead of it. So of Norbert, they get out the way nicely, and then just clipping that inside curb of the first, not the second, and then using as much of the entry curb as possible as we head into that second sector now. Through these slower corners, you've got third gear, fourth gear through here as they then power up the hill, using as much of that curb as they possibly can on exit to try and straight line up to the next corner. Then, as we go on that downhill run, this is going to be the key bit. Is there any understeer? No, there's not. There's no sign of any oversteer on exit either. So now through Junsao they go, mounting the curb there, and unlike an awful lot of drivers, not struggling at all with any oversteer by using it. So they'll have gained a benefit there. And now up towards the line they go, obviously staying as tight as possible here on the run up to that line. Up they go then, and what is this entry time? It's a 1:06.6, a fantastic time from the Haas there of Primož.
As 1 second is also coming up to the line. Let's see where he can set his lap time. Just under a second slower on that lap.
Yep. Just under a second slower, but of course on the medium tyre versus the softs there. So Marcus Thal sets another time in the Williams, a good half second quicker than his teammate or so, but that is on the soft tyre. So plenty more time to come from Marcus, I think, and certainly more to come from 1 second. Of course, being such a short lap here, 1 minute 6 seconds, of course, the current pace setter, it means that you are in a position, as we get an Alpine just crossing the line now of Leonard, and they go second with a 1:06.7. So again, as I say, because it's such a such a quick lap rather, around here, then it's going to be one of these occasions where 1 second has maybe got the right idea here. Get your first time done on the medium set of tyres, then you've got enough time in the session to be able to go out and use all three of the soft sets of tyres that you've got available in this short qualifying session, and then that way it means you don't have to use those 3 sets, then go, oh, well, I don't have any grippy tyres left, and then just sit in the garage for the last few minutes of the session. We've got some yellow flags around the circuit, and that's mostly just for drivers who are going slow to allow those on a fast lap by, so we've got no incidents as such on the circuit. We also got a couple of drivers joining and leaving the lobby, it looked like on my screen there, but everything's staying okay for now. Just as far as some
rogue driver in the lobby.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I think that might have been why there was some people leaving there, but you never know. It's I'm just waiting to see on that front because I've never seen Norbert Jakob before.
Well, there we are then. So hopefully it's all just a case of somebody getting a bit lost in the F1 lobbies. the Wild West that it is. So I think next driver to come across the line is going to be Morgan Ball. Morgan comes up to the line, goes P2 with a 106.6, just 0.03 of a second, separating them now from Primož in that first position. And you must say, that lap from Primož, incredibly fast, given that, you know, they were first one to cross the line. It was a green circuit. We've now had a few cars circulating, getting some rubber laid down, and now the Ferraris are coming up to the line. We've got Top Jack having set a time, and Norbert also has set a time as well. We've got them both now queuing up to get into the pits, in fact. So that was me misreading my mini-map there ever so slightly. So in terms of those out on circuit at the moment, we've got an Alpha Tauri returning to the pits. That is JST. We've also got a McLaren back into the pits as well. We've got a Mercedes, it looks like, staying out on circuit. Is that, that would be Harlem Marquis, I believe. Yeah, Harlem Marquis crosses the line. Sets a 107.256 there. So, well done them. Good time to start with. P12, middle of the pack. And as far as everybody else is concerned, we've got Simon Perigny currently starting a lap as they head through the Senna S's now. And we've then got Corny, Sally, and Luca, all still yet to set a time, apart from Luke Smith, who has retired from the session. It's purple first sector for Simon as they head around through the Cena de Lago now, and they seem to have backed off because they've invalidated their lap time. Dear oh dear, that is not the way that you want to be navigating your way through a qualifying session when you're now, what will be, a good sort of 5-6 minutes in, and still not got a time on the board.
As Neon is flying back towards the line, can they improve on that 10 seconds down? They go immediately up onto the fastest lap. Now that's an improvement.
That is an improvement, a massive improvement. The driver who was a good 10-15 seconds or so off the back of the leader's time, and now with a 106.602, they have jumped top of the timesheets. Now, as I say, that may well be down slightly to track evolution. We don't know. Of course, we aren't there driving ourselves and being able to feel the grip levels versus the start of the session compared to now, but certainly a very good attempt nonetheless. Currently on an outlap is Primož, though, as we can see on screen. And they are getting all wound up and ready to go for another attempt here. So let's stay on board with them and just see how things go here. So 1 second backs away from them then, as it's clear they're not going to get by them in this final sector. Through Jinsao they go. And now up the hill they will drive. They've got a, I believe that's a Red Bull or a Williams ahead of them on circuit, but they're not going to be a factor at all in their lap if the gap stays as it currently is. DRS is open. They take a wide line to try and build up as much speed as possible. And now, crossing the beam, it's now into the first corner we go then. So again, late braking. You can hear the screeching of the tyres there as they just go through that first turn. And then through that last part of the Senna S, they go DRS open as soon as they can activate it, having that inside line as well, making good use of the space. Into the Cena de Lago they go. It's a purple first sector, and crucially, unlike Simon, I was about to say, unlike Simon, they've not invalidated their lap. They still haven't invalidated their lap, but they feel as though that's not one that's going to go down well at all. They feel like they've made that mistake, clearly.
I think what happened there was the back end just got a little bit out on them. I was looking back as that happened, and you just saw the back end just kick very, very slightly. And I think that might have slowed them down enough that they think that wasn't entirely the best lap, and immediately just decided to back off, reset for the lap, and then wait. We have currently got a car stopped. Is that JST? Yes, it was. It was slowing down for the cars to go past it, but it's not always the best to stop and slow down and to let the cars go past you. So, going to that sort of speed, yeah, not ideal, but easiest way to let everyone past, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got a few cars currently on outlaps or on timed laps at the moment. We've got, let's have a look down the order here from the top down. Obviously, we've got Primož having had that first attempt, not liked it too much. They're now starting their first sector all over again. They've cut too much in turn 2, though, invalidated that lap, so that's not going to work for them. Norbert have abandoned their lap as well. They haven't invalidated, but clearly they've just thought that's too slow. Cool Hans Carter doesn't look to be going massively quickly as I'm on board with them, but you never know. Sometimes, as they say in Formula 1, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So as they head up the hill then, are we getting any signs that P6 is going to improve at all here? It doesn't look like the most ambitious of laps, so I'm not certain on that, but you never know, as I say. So we'll keep an eye on them as they go through the final sector. As far as other drivers are concerned, we've got a lot of them out on circuit at the moment. We have a full grid of 20 cars as well, which is a wonderful thing to see this late stage in the season. And we've got the likes of the McLarens out on laps at the moment. We've got Leonard in the Alpine just coming up to the line now. How are they going to do? Across the line they go. P3 for Leonard in the Alpine. So good lap from them, clearly. And we've also got, as I say, Cool Hands Carter have done their lap time. They're currently now down in P7, so no improvement for them, and in fact being displaced by Leonard's time. We had a little bit of a shift on in the lower part, or the mid part of the pack there. I just saw it out the corner of my eye, but didn't quite see who it was that actually moved around there, so apologies for that one. We've then got the likes of JST they look to be slowing down on that straight towards down to turn 4. So we'll see no improvement from them on this occasion. Neon goes by them. Still our provisional pole sitter, still with that time they set a good 3 or 4 minutes ago. And at this stage in the qualifying session, you know, we've got drivers who've used a couple of sets of tyres, maybe even 3 sets of tyres by this point, if they've been really hammering around the laps and wanted to get in on fresh boots at the end of every single time to attempt. And Neon goes just outside track limits there on their lap, so back up the hill. That's going to be no improvement for them on this occasion. But Scruffy, what are you thinking in terms of this session so far? Do you think we're going to get into the 106.5s at this stage? We're agonisingly close, aren't we?
Very, very close. I think there's definitely a possibility of that with Neon. They are quick. That's one thing I would say about Neon. They're racing very, very quick at the moment. I'm trying to spot where they are on circuit right now, actually. Well, they've just invalidated the lap, which isn't ideal, but at least gives them a decent setup for the next one, as we're going to just keep an eye on them for this lap, see if they can improve upon that time. They've only got 6 minutes 30 in which to do it. And the question is always, have they invalidated this and their next?
No, so it was earlier on in Sector 2 is when they invalidated on that previous attempt. So here we are then, on board with them. And once again, the Red Bull powers down the straight, down towards turn number 4, not taking as tight of a line through turn 3 as we've seen some of the other drivers use, so maybe that's to their benefit. Certainly, it's as I mentioned before, it's a good way to re-overtake and counter-attack those who may have overtaken you on the start-finish straight into the Senna S, but may not be the overall quickest line, and now they've invalidated just a little bit.
Yeah, too tight. Sorry for the very loud yell, but it was too tight. Oh dear. Lots of drivers back in the pits now, so we're going to be a little bit on the quiet
people's minds there. You need to tone it. Absolutely, yeah. So we've got then everybody probably going to be heading into the pits on this occasion. We've got Neon still out on the circuit, obviously. I would imagine that they're going to... Oh dear.
Alexander Kraft, fastest lap, 106.571. We are under the 106.6. And I don't know when he said that, but he did. For some reason, I think you're cutting out occasionally.
Yes, I've been booted from the session, in fact.
Well, on the positive, let's hope I stay there, because I'm just going to rap on the wooden desk just constantly.
I certainly hope so. I mean, I'll sort of just... to be honest, I mean, it's one of these things where I've heard talk online that if you do leave a session, you shouldn't then rejoin it if it's qualifying, because then it can mess up with the clock, and that can then cause other problems and all these sorts of things. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply sit back for the rest of qualifying and allow you to do your thing, Scruffy, yes. And then I'll rejoin the lobby once we are heading into the race. I'm
going to just quickly jump on with Harlem Marquis, which is still one of my favourite names on the circuit. Apart from Plimosh, of course, because it's just a fantastic name. Heading round into sort of the mid-sector 2. This is currently the outlap, so nothing too spectacular should happen here. But it does seem drivers are taking that corner just a tiny bit too tight, and I kind of wonder how many laps have been invalidated due to that. It's a shame that I can't screen share this to you so you can also see, but...
That's okay. I can watch it about 30 seconds after the fact.
Yeah, gotta love
YouTube. Gotta
love YouTube's lag. We do currently have 2 drivers sitting right next to each other, just moving over. I think that'll be ABT. Salim moving out of the way of Neon, because it's fairly easy to tell which Red Bull is out of the circuit, because of course Simon Perroni has retired down in 18th. This is very close between these two. They are currently right next to each other, Sali and Neon. Neon previously holding the fastest lap, of course. They will be looking to take this back, so we will be sat on board for that. Currently got some cars overtaking each other down on that bottom straight. But it'll be interesting to see how Neon does try to recover from that time. It's not very far apart at all. It does look like we will be restarting after quali, but simply just to get someone in to replace someone with wheel issues. As Neon is going to start, hopefully, what will be a fastest lap. Not to induce curse of the commentator.
Absolutely no. I'm just seeing them now passing through the not the the Junsao rather, on the screen. So I imagine they're probably already through the centre airs by now.
Yep, just passing the exit of the pit lane, heading straight down at speed to that corner. That is our fastest first sector. So we may see something from them as they go very close to the line on the outside, using absolutely all of the track. Now this corner coming up is where they have previously made that mistake. We could just go a tiny bit too tight, taking it as close as they can. And here we go. This is the corner. Just clipping the line, but not enough to trigger that. Not enough to trigger the stewards as it gets very close to that outside line, using all of the circuit. And it'll be interesting to see when they hit the end of this sector, have they managed to keep it in the purple? Just about to hit the timing line now. That is a purple second sector, heading up into just the start of the third and final sector, heading back towards that start straight. They are going to be behind a car, but I don't think they'll really particularly care as long as they get across the line in the fastest time they possibly can, taking it as close to the barrier as possible, heading up towards the line. Takes it in at 106.2s. That's a full chunk off of Kraft's time. I don't think we're going to get below 106.
106.2.
That's
absolutely,
ridiculous.
yeah. That is a very special time. That is very, very quick indeed. Obviously, having just been 0.03 of a second down on Kraft's time before, and now, of course, 0.3 ahead. You must say that is a fairly commanding performance, especially as I mentioned earlier on, with it being such a quick lap around here. It is a gap of 0.3 here is much more impressive than a gap of 0.3 at, say, Spa, for example.
Exactly, as we're going to just sit on board with Sarli for a little bit, just down the bottom of the pack. Harlan Marquis retiring from the session. Not that it particularly matters before the next part, because they are going to have to restart the lobby anyway. As currently on board, there is a couple of cars just on the back straight, actually. I believe it's 1 second ahead of Thor, who is backed off a little bit. But we also sit on board with 1 second for this. Hopefully, let's see if they can actually bump their way up just in the last few minutes, the last few seconds at this point, because there's only 50 seconds left. Down. It wasn't a fastest first sector, I believe. But the question is not can they get to first, the question is can they improve upon their time. And Morgan Ball, looks like they've also just dropped off as retired as well. A few people retiring, someone going wide there to allow 1 second through. And they are currently living up to their name. Literally 1 second off the fastest time. As they're going to come down to the end of the second sector. And the question is, will they have got a fastest second sector? They have. Fastest second sector, so that's definitely an improvement. So we are going to see whether they can come across this line and even get onto the podium places, even get onto the first 3. So we are going to see any second now. Will they manage to do it? Third. They should lock themselves onto third for now. The question is, no, unfortunately JST cannot. He's coming to the pits. Leonard is currently going a little bit slowly through the second sector by the looks. Definitely doesn't look like they're accelerating anywhere near to the level they were before. And let's see if Alexander Kraft can finish this by getting that one last-ish attempt. And I believe something's just split around at the top. JST up into the third slot. Pushing 1 second down to fourth as Alexander Kraft goes around the final corner, taking every single piece of track that he can on the left. Not as close as some of the drivers, but I'm not sure whether that makes a difference. And he finishes quali at 6th place. Leonard as well, coming around the final corner to finish. Into the pits. And I believe that is basically all our drivers to finish. They're all going to drive into the pits by the looks, because not many people left. And I believe this is a whole new session starting, so we are just quickly going to jump to intermission and get back with you as soon as possible, which is a positive for you, of course, Daniel, because they get to restart the session completely and you avoid the quali join.
Fantastic. Well, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So hopefully everything will be just fine from my perspective. What I've done is I've also just because this seems to be an F1 specific issue for me. I don't know why. I don't know what I've done to upset Codemasters other than badmouth their games for 10 years. But it is a case that we are. Every single time I seem to go into a session or something like that, at some point it will just randomly boot me out, and nobody can figure out why. I don't have any firewall blocks on the game. I have a poorer connection now than I used to, but on my old connection that was, half a gigabit of internet, it was absolutely fine. And so I'll just keep the task manager open here on the Ethernet screen. And hopefully we'll see if there's any sort of network drop or anything like that, if it's a network issue.
You are definitely cutting out on your
it'll
voice
be
a little bit. Occasionally you will completely drop from the Discord voice call. If that makes any difference. Basically, you don't disconnect, but you your voice just stops transmitting. Because while I was, when I made that noise, because someone had just got a little bit close to the line there when he invalidated, I am certain you said a few sentences, but I couldn't hear you.
Right.
Because you suddenly cut in at the end of a sentence.
Yeah. Are we still on broadcast, by the way?
Yes, we are. Yes.
We are. Excellent, good stuff. So yes, don't mind us while we're just troubleshooting my technical problems. But yeah, so I don't know. I know that every other game that I own on PC don't have this problem.
Yes.
It never randomly boots me from a session. So
I think that was a perfect example of the point about Daniel dropping out there, because you just went and then just cut out. There he is.
See, now it's good that it's good that you mentioned that, because on that occasion, I all of a sudden just got a random complete drop on my Ethernet graph. So I was downloading nothing. So excuse me whilst I just go and shake someone in my house and say, stop doing whatever you're doing with the internet.
Because
basically.
something is happening.
Something is happening. So yes, I shall be back in just a minute or two.
Yep. As we are currently waiting for some people to join. So, for a little bit of an update, a driver is having a problem with wheels, hence why we are going for a restart on the lobby. Nothing we can do on that front. Just how it is. So we just need to sit and wait for them to join. So that was Luca, unfortunately, who cannot race. So it looks like we have Scars hopping in. I'm not entirely certain which driver that is, but I have not seen Joshua Pinar on the list yet. So we await. The start of this final race of the season. And there's 16 drivers in the lobby. God, it's lovely to see that amount of drivers in. All I hope is that the racing is clean, all I'm hoping is that racing is fair, and all I'm hoping is that we do not see a repeat of the actual real-life Brazil, where drivers are forced off the circuit in whatever circumstances, whatever, who you blame, I don't care. I'm not saying I support either of them, and I'm certainly not going to have that conversation now, because it would get, very complicated. Currently waiting, that is 20 in the lobby, which means that should be starting very, very soon. I'm kind of expecting some safety cars here. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a full safety car. VSC is almost guaranteed if anyone makes even the slightest of spins. We are just awaiting this. In terms of Mr. Gunnan, he is on his way back. So hopefully we can get him in. Apparently the lobby is waiting on him. Just gotta hope he comes back at some point. Hopefully soon. We are here listening to the silence, not of the lambs, but of the stream. Don't think anyone really wants to live in the silence of the lambs. God, that'd be terrifying. And of course, Gilligan could be back, but he may also forget that he's muted. But we will see. Hopefully this isn't a work Zoom call incident style thing. Where it's just the start of call and all he goes, oh, you're muted. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Ah, what a lovely intermission. Well, just to do something here. I am just going to try this. Hang on a minute, just gonna check down this list. Nope, still only have myself as a spectator. Simon apparently hasn't picked a car. Let's see if we can get some music running just while we wait, because I will be a bit quiet at times, and you know, always nice to have something running in the background even if I'm not speaking.
And we're back.
Hello there.
Hello.
As we await the start of this, once you're back, they're basically waiting on you to spectate.
Ah, that's very kind of them.
He is very kind of them.
I also apologise for holding everybody up.
That's fine. I let Luke Smith know he's fine with it. We just still waiting for you to join back in. Hopefully it's there we go.
There we go.
We go. We begin the final race of the season.
Yes, unfortunately, no word at all from my housemates as far as them doing anything strange with the internet. So we're going to have to run some sort of program after this to see. It's loading up the lobby. Thank you everybody watching, of course, for your patience whilst we're sorting everything out here and so on. Not just my own issues, but of course the problems that have been had by some of the drivers with regards to connectivity and devices and things like that. And it's booted me out of the session before it's even started.
Instantly, just out the session.
Yep.
Right, let's try this. Hopefully it doesn't lag me too much. It shouldn't. But at the very least, you'll be able to see who I'm looking at. And I don't think it's actually affecting my stream FPS, which is ideal.
Aha! Excellent.
So you should be able to see it. You should be able to hear it. I hope. There's no noise right now. Just waiting.
We'd certainly hope so. I will now just kill F1, not as a general concept, but the game on my computer.
I think if many people had the power to kill F1, that would be quite a dangerous thing.
It certainly would, and it would mean that the only sport I bothered to watch would then be gone from my life.
Exactly.
So I would have nothing to talk about at the pub. Not that I do anyway, but you know.
Not that I go to the pub that much.
Well, yeah, especially not over the last couple of years, I can tell you that much. So, as we get ready for everybody to jump in then, so we've got a good 10 seconds or so until everything is ready to go, unless, of course, there's some sort of input delay. And
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with positioning, because I don't know if you can manually select people's positions.
You can. You definitely can.
Here we go.
I've seen it done before. And there we go. Like magic, we have Neon on pole and Primož alongside. So, just to give you that quick rundown then of the order for all of the drivers. I mean, you can see it on your screen, but yeah, maybe you want to turn away for a second, make a pancake or some toast or something like that whilst they're on the formation lap. So, Neon will lead the pack round to the grid on pole position, and then Primož will be alongside. Then, on third, we have JST. And then from 4th down, we have 1 second. Leonard, Alexander Kraft, Norbert, Jake Finch, Morgan Ball, Oon, Marcus, Carter Lundy, Will G, SHZ Milan. I'll just call them Milan from now on. And then Top Jack, Harlem Marquis, Sally, Luke Smith, Simon Perigny, and then Joshua Pinar.
He's currently just sat on board with Joshua Pinar at the back. Obviously, it doesn't really matter right now. It is just the formation lap. Opportunity for the drivers to warm up the tyres. And given that everyone will basically be starting on cold tyres, as far as I know, that's kind of important.
Yes, indeed. And just a quick request from my part. Can we see the tyres and see what everybody's starting on?
We can, absolutely. I don't know why I went that high for that one, but we can, in fact, see the tyres.
Shall I join you? So here we are then. Everybody's getting ready to go onto the grid. We have the top 10 all starting on soft tyres. Top Jack, and Luke Smith also on the soft tyres. Then everybody else outside the top 10 on mediums. So
to be honest, we could do this the entire race, but it wouldn't be very enjoyable. No, it wouldn't be very enjoyable.
Well, it depends on the person, I'm sure. But we are. So we get ready to go then. Everybody seems to be jumping into their grid slots now. And yes, Touchwood, you've not had me dropping out at all, have you? In the last
not so far.
No, okay, well there you go then. So I'm convinced by that it is an F1 issue. Anyway, so that game just clearly hates me. So they're getting ready to go then. We've got no view of the lights from this camera angle. No. Thank you, Codemasters. And we will get ready for them to crack on then. Oh, now we have the... Oh,
there you go. Going to go for
a luxury. 4, the entrance. 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go. And it looks like a decent start from Poleman, but an even better start potentially for Primož. Primož is very close up the inside. They're going to try and move there into turn number 1. It doesn't happen for them. The Red Bull cuts are right across the front of the Haas, and then they are able to maintain P1 there at the start of the field. We've then got just further down the order, the Williams and the AlphaTauri fighting one another hard for P3 and 4. And now as they head down, Sino Delago down there, we've now got Ferrari versus Alpine. The Ferrari and Orba goes up the inside of Leonard. Leonard loses out the position, is forced out of the circuit. Ferrari very, very forceful there, and now 1 second and JST just up the road from them, and there we are. We can see the first sort of trains starting to form then after the first few corners, and out the inside, the Williams at the very last moment, 1 second, much less than 1 second it was for them to dive up the inside there. And we've got a car round at the back of the field. It's a McLaren, and there's also a Mercedes off the back of the field as well. That's Carter Lundy, so maybe those two have had a bit of a tangle somewhere. But up at the front, we've now got Jake Finch moving by Alexander Kraft. And Alexander Kraft back ahead of Jake Finch. So interesting battle there for 7th and 8th. And up the inside into Junsao goes Alexander Kraft. I wouldn't have gone for the move there. And, oh no! The McLaren's off! Jake Finch is off and has probably speared into a wall by now. Oh dear, that is not the way they would have wanted their race to end as soon as it started. Neon crosses the line, of course, sets our first fastest lap. We've also got Joshua Pinar off the circuit as well. Now we're 3 wide. It's like Brazil 2012 all over again. Down into turn number 1 they go then. It's all side by side, fighting between all these guys here. We've got Moon here trying to make their way by Marcus as Luke Smith has been able to clear. Oh, and then we've got the McLaren. Is that the McLaren? No, that's not the McLaren at all. I'm talking nonsense. It's the Haas of Will G fighting with Top Jack in the Ferrari.
The touching wheels.
Side through the Sino Delago. Now round up towards the hill they go. Will there be a move up the inside here from the Ferrari? Yes, there will. Will the Haas try and hang it around the outside? They do, but they lose out at the last second. Will there be a dive up the inside into this turn here? No, not that we can see, and that allows us to catch our breath just for 1 second.
But even then, this is absolutely insane battling from the cars up front. As you see Marcus Stoll and Luke Smith behind, battling for 10th place, basically. Marcus Stoll makes a mistake, and Luke Smith jumps through and takes that place from him. It's turning into an absolute battle all over the circuit. It doesn't matter if you're in 1st, 5th, or 20th. You're still going to have an absolute riot of a battle. And it is turning into sort of 2 groups. And I think just further back, Simon Perigny is going to get a run on Harlem Marquis as Neon, then JST, sets the fastest lap. This is turning into an absolute run for all these drivers. Absolutely fantastic racing. I think that's one of the best first 2 or 3 laps I've seen of a race ever. It's absolutely stunning.
We've certainly been treated to a very, very good opening couple of laps there. There's no denying it at all. And if you think about this now, the way that it looks at the moment with these groups starting to form, just wait until we start getting the DRS. Is now up the inside. Goes Top Jack on Marcus Stoll. Williams versus Ferrari. It's 1997 all over again. And the Ferrari is past, but now the Haas of Will G is threatening to go around the outside of the Williams. They're going to try the up and under, are they? Up the inside? No, I would think better of that myself. Oh, just backing out of that one, rightly so, I think. But still there, still threatening the back of the Williams with that Haas. And there you go. You see, they're able to just keep themselves just hanging on in there, just having a sniff all the way and around. And now as they head back down the hill towards Junsao, it looks like the Williams may have gotten a little bit of respite, as now Simon Perigny is much closer to the back of Will G than Will G is to the back of Marcus Thull.
He really is going to turn into a race, but it looks like pretty much he's going to try and make a move on Neon. Is he going to send it? No, thinks better of it as he ends into the first corner. Plenty of space to live to die another day. There, you can go round this corner here and get an absolute run, but I think he's lost a bit of time on Neon. He's going wider than him through that corner. And will he be able to get the speed? No, he won't. That drop in speed was enough, and I think we've actually got a little bit of a battle going on back the field with Simon Perigny and Will G. Simon Perigny going to the outside, Will G not giving him any room at all, which is what you love to see, because they don't have to, as Simon Perigny has to go wide to avoid Will G there. I'm not sure too what would happen, but there is a car on his inside. Marcus Thull, they are going to be battling three cars, as the Williams is round behind, just looking for any of the table scraps, effectively, of these two cars ahead of him. As Simon Perigny thinks about it, does not go for it, probably wisely. Will G getting a little bit scrawny on the back end as the car of Marcus Thull.
Now around the outside.
Ooh, this is fantastic racing from these three, but it's not even technically a race between three, as Marcus Thull takes advantage of that slight go wide from Perigny, and Perigny is still moving. I think Marcus Thull might be able to make a move towards the end of the lap, and he taps the back.
Oh, just a tap. Oh,
and again,
they keep on tapping away. It's like a child on their brand new drum set. Oh. And now, as they head back up the hill, then the Williams retakes the place from the Red Bull, has the DRS, and now will go chasing on after the Haas just ahead of them. Further up the field, of course, we're seeing here 1 second defending and attacking at the same time versus Norbert and Leonard, not respectively in that particular instance. And you can see this DRS train, yes, absolutely, it's just formed here between these guys at the top. And as soon as Norbert is able to get onto the back of JST there and rejoin nice and close in that DRS train, I think it's then just going to sync the two trains up, if you like, all the way back from Alexander Kraft up to Neon. So first to 7th, and then Luke Smith looks to be in charge of then the next train. And possibly then Morgan Ball as well. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong Alfa Romeo on the minimap. It would be Moon. So first to 10th, all really, really close to one another. You can see there a gap of only 4.5 seconds between them. So that's less than half a second between each car if we treat that as an average. And if my GCSE maths is going to hold on strong there, I don't know. But yes, very, very close up at the front. And now that they've all got DRS, it's a situation where Neon now really doesn't want to find themselves in, because as they head down the start-finish straight here, down into turns 1 and 2, they do have at least a decent amount of straight-line speed here to be able to effectively mount a defense. But what you can see here on this screen as we're watching on Primož is that they have pretty much all of their ERS available to use, but they're not using it. They're not using it at all. Could it be that they're maybe storing this up for an effective undercut or overcut, do you reckon?
I think that could potentially be the case, because you look back here at Simon Perigny with 27%, because obviously he's regenerating it now. And 27%, this is turning into a battle, incidentally, back in the sort of 15th to 10th part of the track. It's turning into battles all across the track, to be honest, because everyone's sort of turning into their own little mini DRS trains.
Yes,
very
of course,
interesting.
And then, of course, the problem then, if you're in a position like where these three guys are at the moment, Marcus, Will, and Simon, then of course you're going to be in a position where you're fighting with one another constantly, lap after lap, and it's just going to allow the group ahead of you to start stretching their legs and getting away. Even Top Jack at the moment is struggling to get onto the back of this group that's fighting, so that 1st to 10th group that we mentioned earlier on. And he's struggling to get onto the back of them because they're all pulling one another along with the DRS, and therefore getting that extra VMAX, the extra top speed, as they all go into the Senna S's now and start getting Constantine up between one another. Leonard there looks to be going side by side with Alexander Kraft. Move to the inside and want to control that inside line down towards Asina Delago. To the outside goes the Alfa Romeo. Will they hang it all the way around the outside? It looks very, very close. There's no space given whatsoever. But I think that perhaps on that occasion, Alexander maybe just backed out of that one before they reached the exit curve, because it looked, when we went onto that rear view camera, as though they were already cleared by the time they got there, and it looked like they didn't have to go off circuit at all. So, good from them so far. Morgan Ball gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That will be to do with track limits, of course. And, yeah, this group continuing to pound on at some speed. Top Jack still losing time to these guys. And Top Jack proved in qualifying they weren't exactly a slouch compared to these guys ahead of them. But they're not able to get on the back because everybody's getting used to the DRS on one another, except for Neon. Of course, being the leader, has an awful lot of pace, you'd assume, and therefore it's just dragging this group along. Again, they've massively cleared Primož down the start-finish straight. They've got much less in the way of ERS than they do, as you can see there. But it's all getting very close, and especially close for Leonard here. Leonard now only 15% of ERS remaining, give or take. And as they head now onto the Sena de Largo, Alexander Kraft is going to have DRS just as they do. And some ERS, I'm sure, but no attack seems to be forming at this point in time. And Primož has also taken the lead. In all that talking, Primož has taken the lead of the Grand Prix.
The question is, can Neon make that move? And given his pace, given the fact that he was on the front of a DRS train, is still holding the lead and no one could get past him, I think he's got a blooming good chance of getting back past. But the cars behind, at the end of the day, all of these cars, because they're all in this big group, are going to be battling and slowing each other down. Which, to be honest, is probably why Neon could hold the lead.
Absolutely, yes. So we are going to wait and see then as they head down towards Jinsao. This is where there's going to be a little bit of time lost because, of course, going through the dirty air in that section of the circuit will slow them down a bit. And there you can see that gap has now grown from about 0.3 to just over half a second before they've then gotten on the ERS and gotten up the hill using that slipstream to good advantage here. It is a little bit broken in terms of how effective it is. Not using the DRS, it's sort of opening and shutting. Here comes the move then. Into the Senna S? No, instead they decide just to get nice and close. They'll stick with them through the Senna S. And now as they head through turn number 3, will they stay nice and tight in order to stay within Primož's slipstream? It looks like they have on this occasion. DRS is being used and then switched off again. Once more, it looks like they've just switched off the DRS midway through the straight there. Because, of course, you saw that green line across the top of their dashboard at the bottom of the screen. And then it was disappearing before they got to the end of the straight. So either DRS problems for Neon, because of course you can get damage on the DRS in this game, or could be that they're just playing a more tactical game here, just waiting to see perhaps that point of the pit stops, trying to go for an undercut maybe, is entirely possible. Look at this, just by following around and using the DRS only to be able to keep in touch, and the slipstream of course, with Primož over these last few laps, they've gone from about 40% ERS to now 90% as they exit out of Jinsao.
It's an absolutely incredible race up front as well, because what's going to happen is Primož is going to come back onto the start straight, and in theory Neon's just going to open up the DRS, and the overspeed is going to be insane if he keeps that going. You can just see how fast he's going to be inside. He's thinking twice about that one. He could have made that move stick if he'd absolutely sent it. But you've really got to trust your braking foot.
You've not just your brakes, but also the driver you're fighting against, of course. Now, 2/10 the gap, 3/10 the gap between the pair of them. Will there be a move on here? I don't think so. It's not quite close enough. You saw in the real-life Grand Prix, of course, that Lewis Hamilton needed to be within about 3.5 tenths of a second or so from Max Verstappen as he was chasing him down to be able to get in a position where he could affect a move. Of course, first occasion it didn't work, but then second time of asking, it did work. So that train, yes, exactly, that was the other thing I was going to mention. That top 10 train of cars, all still within about 3 seconds of one another. We're on lap 10 here. We would expect it not to be a gap of 3 seconds, and this is where, unfortunately, Brazil is just a little bit broken, as we see now the Aston Martin and the Alpine of Leonard and Luke Smith going side by side here now down into Jinsao. Luke Smith has the outside line, so they're maybe going to be able to get just that little bit more of an overspeed here as Leonard went for that earlier overtake up the inside in Jinsao. And there you go. You see the Aston Martin deploying its ERS, using the DRS as well. They've made a very, very late move, getting up the inside, and now side by side into turn number 1. Will there be late braking antics from Leonard? No, not on this occasion. So that is Luke Smith now up into P6.
That's absolutely stunning move from Luke Smith there. That was a brilliant, brilliant move, but I don't think it's going to do too much, because what's going to happen is Leonard's going to get in there behind him, and I don't think he's got quite enough overspeed to make anything really happen there. And we've actually got a yellow flag on the main straight. Don't know what's going on.
Oh, Sally has retired from the session. That may well be a pit lane retirement. Even if you retire in the pit lane, the game can still sometimes throw a yellow flag out onto the start-finish straight. So hopefully the car will just disappear. We won't end up seeing it causing a safety car or anything like that. You would hope.
It has disappeared,
because there you go then. So there we are. We have got an uninterrupted race then, as Sally clearly had enough of that one and elected to retire altogether. And there you go. They've left the session now. So as it is then, this train continues to circulate around. It's a magical thing to watch. So magical, in fact, you could call it the Hogwarts Express.
He's going to have to send it.
into turn number 1, then bit of the ERS, and no, again, very early on the brakes, really backing out of the move, nice and early there, and I'm not entirely certain as to
have
why.
our first
It could
pitters.
be potentially the threat of being repassed down into turn number 4,
Yes.
because of course that is a thing that can happen, but you can see here, and have seen lap after lap, that Neon is not gaining that time back on Primož. So why would they assume that the reverse would be true if they just overtook Primož on the start finish straight? It's a bizarre set of circumstances that we're watching here. But as things are then, Primož continues to lead the Grand Prix ahead of Neon, then JST in 3rd. Alexander Kraft has been able to sneak their way up into 4th position here. Luke Smith up into 5th now, after previously, last time I checked on them, were in 6th place. Leonard has also made up a position as well, and it may well be that we've had a couple of cars pit at this stage, maybe?
We did. We had a couple of cars pit down the back. I believe Top Jack was a car to pit because he's on 0 laps on the hards, so he switched onto the hards. And it also looks like we've had Morgan Ball.
It looks like.
Now the question is, will we see any of the top drivers pit? That is the main one. And there, just as I say.
Primož dives in, so does Neon, and so does, who's that as well? The thing is starting to move too quickly for me to keep. JST. JST is the driver who is also pitted, so it's going to be a battle of the pit stops here. And, of course, on pit exit, you're going to have to think that Primož will have a little bit of an advantage here. If they can get out, then that means that they will be at the head of this queue here, because the Haas is the last garage. So if they're not held, there we are. They have retained the position. In fact, they've all retained their positions relative to one another. But now with fresh tyres, it's all going to be about how much you risk in terms of driving out of the pit lane exit here, and then where you filter back into traffic, because of course there is the traffic. And now as they head out, then Primož has to slot back in behind Milan and Norbert as well. So these guys are now going to be held up. That's going to allow the likes of Alexander Kraft and Luke Smith and Leonard, who are currently now the leading 3 in this race, to potentially start to effect an overcut here. Because while the undercut is very powerful around Brazil, of course, if you are stuck behind slower moving cars who are on aged tyres, then that's not going to help your case at all. As it is, Milan has been thoroughly dispatched by both Neon and Primož so far, but Norbert continues to hold these guys up, acting as a bit of a cork in the bottle. So as they head now through Junsao in just a couple of moments' time, top 3 are going to want to, the effective top 3 are going to want to get by this Ferrari as quickly as possible. As it is, though, as you rightly point out, the top 3 who were leading previously, so Alexander Kraft, Leonard and Moon, have all gone into the pits. Now, will we see them be able to come out and effectively challenge? It looks like they may well be able to do so on JST, who's only just getting by Milan now. And as they head into the first couple of turns, then we're starting to see them coming out the pits. I think things are going to be very close here between JST and then some of the guys who've been into the pits, perhaps. Whereabouts do they come out? Oh, they've come out ahead. So no jeopardy from the pits on this occasion, it looks like. But things very close indeed amongst the lower end of the pack here. So maybe not being held up by the Ferrari quite as much as they previously would have thought, but if things continue as they are and there's an awful lot of life left in the, or not even an awful lot, but if there's enough life left in the tyres of Luke Smith and 1 second, and they're able to pound out the laps here, whilst Primož and Neon are stuck up behind Norbert in the Ferrari, then that will of course be a bad... Oh, hang on. I'm only just noticing this. Norbert is on 1 lap old tyres. They've executed a massive undercut on the leaders.
Oh, and there's contact.
Effective leader of this Grand Prix, tapping the sides there between those 2 cars. Leonard and Harlem Marquis there. Leonard manages to get up and past the Mercedes.
Missing the pits, that's 1 second.
1 second, Luke Smith in the pits then. So Luke Smith's tyres already changed over. Will they get out ahead of this group? I'm not sure, but yeah, there we go then to Norbert. Not holding up these guys at all, in fact, but instead leading this Grand Prix effectively. And certainly once Will G and Simon Perigny pit, that will be the case as long as there's no safety car to hold them up. And there you see that whereabouts has Luke Smith come out and all of that. Luke Smith is now down in 8th position, so they've actually lost the position to Alexander Kraft. So undercut is powerful around Brazil, especially so if you are driving a Scarlet Ferrari and your name is Norbert.
It's absolutely insane to see that one driver holding up basically the entire field. And I'm not using the word holding up in a negative sense, because at the end of the day, this is pretty much perfect position for him. There is a lot of drivers in that train, and he is effectively leading that. He can control quite a fair bit of this race just by being in that position that he's in. It's working perfectly fine for Simon Perigny up in the front, but he is on those 14-lap-old mediums as Marcus Thor gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I'm starting to think that may not necessarily be for track limits. We could be seeing it for contact on other cars. But it
Absolutely.
may...
But look at this. Look at Neon. Look at Neon. They've been deploying the ERS ever since Junsao. They've got the DRS open. They're following through on a double slipstream here. And now, by the Ferrari go 2 cars. And will the Ferrari be able to keep it in there? No, they lose out just through the center S to both Neon and Primoz. So Primoz takes the effective lead of the Grand Prix again. Neon effective second place. They're just flapping the DRS there again in the strange manner with which we've become accustomed with Neon's DRS use. And there we are then. So things as you were then. And now effective third place in this Grand Prix is Norbert in the Ferrari.
We are seeing Luke Smith moving back up. He's definitely on the back end of JST. There probably will be a move by him at some point, but we may potentially be having places switching up towards the front of the Grand Prix very soon because Neon is in 4th. He's past Norbert. And so is Primoz, which means they will be able to chase down the first and second cars because they are definitely coming back towards the main pack now.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. And it's only about 4 seconds, the gap or so, 3.5 seconds, in fact, to the guys ahead of them who have not pitted yet. So traffic could potentially become a factor here. JST, we're seeing here under assault at the moment from Luke Smith. Really, the driver you have to feel the most sorry for in all that pit stop shenanigans because it means that they have lost out to Norbert and to Alexander Kraft here because they were held up behind Milan and the McLaren for that little bit longer. Now then, Luke Smith attempting an overtake now, but look at their ERS. They're on 1% battery. They're going to run out any second now. They can't sustain that attack. And then, just a bit misjudging a braking point there. And nearly into the back of the Alpha Tauri. Luckily, though, for both cars, it looks like they were able to get away from that without any contact, or at least without any major contact.
And so far, this has been a fantastic race, I have to say. 17 laps in, the racing has been hard, very, very strong, and exceptionally clean for now. Obviously, there was a couple of cars going off at the start, so I can't comment on that because we unfortunately didn't see exactly the context behind those incidents. But from what I have seen up front, this has been a fantastically clean and fair race. No one's been pushing each other off. No one's been pushing each other way just a little bit too hard off the track. It's just been all round absolutely fantastic. As we're coming onto the back straight now, we're coming onto the final straight. So, as we're going to see as close as possible, I don't think he's going to be able to get too much of a move on JST at this point. But we may be seeing, because I keep getting confused on positioning of cars because I'm used to Neon being in second. It's very difficult to follow that tiny little map in the bottom right, to be fair. That is the only reason, that's the only way I've been spotting battles. It's really difficult.
Well, shall we maybe chuck up the interval graphic? And then that way it might be a bit easier to see. But yes, so as we are, there we are then. So there we go. We get to see some of the gaps now. So 0.2 of a second between Primoz and Neon as they head up into the second sector. And once again, it just kind of highlights to me that how maybe on whatever is working in the back end of the game here, deciding how effective slipstreaming is and dirty air and all this sort of thing, I feel like Codemasters may have just stuffed it up ever so slightly for Brazil, because Brazil, you can see the cars are just following each other nose to tail. Look at that. The gaps are all less than half a second between these guys from 4th all the way down to 9th position. Leonard is then about 1.5 seconds off the back of 1 second, but then after them there's 2 more cars who are about half a second each behind one another. So there we go then. Luke Smith on the attack once more behind JST, once again being able to use the slipstream and the DRS on that lap to be able to charge some ERS up and go for the attack. But now as they head into the center S, they're going to recharge ever so slightly, but this is not enough ERS to defend here, I would say. If JST has some in reserve and wants to be able to relaunch an attack here, they're going to get use of DRS, so that advantage is effectively metered out. And as it is, then, yeah, JST not able to mount a sufficient counterattack there. So the new order then between those guys is Luke Smith up to 7th place, effective 5th. And JST down in 8th, now effective 6th place. And for the driver who was previously running around in 3rd place rather comfortably and threatening the back of Neon throughout that first stint, you must say that JST is the big loser out of all of that.
Absolutely. That pit didn't necessarily work out too well as Marcus still gets another 3-second time penalty. Unsure where all of these are coming from. We will see this front group, who are all bunched up again. This DRS train, it's been a positive because at the end of the day, what looks like is Simon Perroni is coming up on the trail car.
My goodness.
What?
Primoz goes to the pits.
No, that wasn't Primoz. That was Will G dropping into the pits, which puts Primoz into 3rd. So, and Neon is back up into 2nd. And as you stated, that overcut / undercut / whatever cut worked.
It certainly did, yes. Look at that then. So The Haas that was not fighting for the lead has now gone into the pits and freed up these guys to be able to get racing once more for the prize honours. 4.5 seconds the gap from these guys now to Simon Perigny up at the front of the field. A driver who must have been holding out all this time in the hope, begging and praying that they're able to get themselves a safety car or virtual safety car as well.
He's back up behind Jake Finch. I don't know what's happened with Jake Finch. Looks like he's disconnected. Either that or it's just showing that he's disconnected. But whether that is the case or not, I believe what will be happening here is... The thing is, Perigny will still be getting that DRS kick, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there you go. Across the DRS detection line they go, just behind the ghosted McLaren. And once again, DRS opens up on the Red Bull. And now, across the line they go. It's a... to be fair to them, it's only about, from what I briefly saw there, I'll check on the other monitor in just a second on the stream delay, but it looked like they were still lapping around about their best lap time for the race. So it certainly looks a consistent performance from them so far. Neon being threatened by Primož at the minute. I'll just have a look now. Yeah, only 3.5 tenths off their personal best time for Simon Perigny as they cross the line there on lap 20. So those medium tyres, whatever they're doing to them, it certainly seems to be working. You'd have to imagine that if they were a masseuse, then you'd have to recommend all your friends to them. Because they have the magic touch, clearly. So, Norbert then threatening the back of Primož at the moment as the Haas driver looks to try and retake what is effective lead of this Grand Prix. As Simon Perigny continues to circulate around in the actual lead of the Grand Prix. But of course, once they pit, which they will eventually have to do, they will drop down the order by quite some considerable margin. But you must think that hopefully for their sake, with a fresh set of boots on, presumably soft tyres, given that they've started on the mediums and have hung out for this long, they won't go onto the hards. So presumably on a set of soft tyres, they'll be able to get themselves back up into a fighting position and get into some points maybe. It would certainly be good to see them doing that. Ooh, look at this here! Look at this! We've got Alfa Romeo versus Ferrari. The Alfa Romeo going all the way off the circuit trying to fight the Ferrari there. Trying to hang it all the way around the outside. No! Contact! 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 And oh dear, I think Alexander should have backed out. I think that realistically they were beaten by the fact that they had to go off circuit to stay alongside the Ferrari. And then when they tried to just hang it around the outsides in the Senna there, they were alongside, but
not enough.
Realistically, they shouldn't have been there because they should have been back in behind the Ferrari. And oh, there you go. Big snap of oversteer. Those tyres will be very hot indeed after having just had a spin. Neon now goes through the ghost of Jake Finch past. And we now get ready to see. I'm getting the Christmas jokes in already. Yeah. So Red Bull 1-2 at the moment. It most likely will not be that come the end of the race. And you can see here now, we've been following around with Neon here along the back behind Simon Perigny for the last sort of 2-3 laps or so. That gap has only come down by about 0.8 tenths of a second in all
Perigny
that time.
In the pits.
Perigny in the pits then, so as I say all that gap is now going to absolutely decimate. And there you go, then down it goes, and they will then start tumbling down the order, but they will have a fresh set of soft tyres. There you go, confirmation of that on the screen now. And it looks like they will have a decent run to the finish then. They're going to come out around about P12, P11 I think is where they should be, given where Will G is on the circuit at the moment. And yes, the Red Bull coming out the pits now. They're going to be just alongside the Haas driver, so that's going to be a close battle. But I think that the Red Bull will stay out ahead. Yep, Simon Perigny out ahead. And now about 3.5 seconds or so off the back of the points. So keep an eye on them, and that will be an interesting one as things go. Will G gets a 3-second time penalty, presumably for corner cuts and for their intense chase after their rival, who has beaten them with an overcut. And now up at the front here of the order, now that Neon has retaken the actual lead of the Grand Prix, no longer the effective lead of the Grand Prix. We've got this battle then, 6 in fact, different teams in the first 6 positions, all very close to one another. And then you've got Leonard about 2.5 seconds or so behind them. But now then, on board with Luke Smith in the Aston Martin. They're going to try what Alexander Kraft failed to do on the Ferrari. The Ferrari moves to the inside to defend. The Aston tries to move around the outside, and up ahead of them, Primož has been able to get by Neon as well. Neon loses a position now, but now they're tucked in right behind. 1/10 separating the two as they cross the DRS activation line. The Red Bull will have it because they were overtaken into the Senna S, and now up the inside into Sina de Longa they go, and the Red Bull of Neon retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. But just behind them there, you can see Luke Smith now up into P3. Ferrari has gone into another dimension. They've just gone back to the future. They've retired from this session. And, well, dear oh dear, it was going so well for Norbert, but now, off the podium, they seem to have lost the composure or lost control of their settings, perhaps. Maybe they whatever input device they're using is just jammed on the accelerator, and away they've gone. I honestly cannot tell you what's happened there, but Neon looks to have a decent lead ahead of Primoz as they go through Junsao, 7.5 tenths or so as they start to climb up the hill. I still think that they're going to be in a vulnerable position for the rest of the Grand Prix, really. But what did you make of that there, Scruffy?
I was just watching it and we were just like, oh, this is an interesting battle. Boom! It's just absolutely out of nowhere. Just as you're saying, literally, if you could play the Back to the Future theme just quietly in the background and then immediately just like ear splitting as it goes past, that is basically what happened there. That was insane as Simon Perroni gets fastest lap of the race. But I have no idea what happened there. It was just Ferrari in the race, Ferrari going at 5,000 miles an hour into the nearest wall. I have no idea what on earth happened there, as it looks like Simon Perroni is about to make a move on the Alpha.
Absolutely, there you go then, the Alfa Romeo of Alexander Kraft, obviously having been in the wars earlier on in that battle with Norbert, now overtaken by the soft shod and much faster at this stage in the race, Simon Perroni. Much younger tyres, 9 laps the difference between those tyres, and of course on a softer compound as well. That further exacerbates that speed difference between the pair of them. So Simon Perroni will now chase after Moon, who's not quite on the back of this train up ahead, and there is about a 2-second gap or so from them to there. But things are very, very close indeed amongst these guys, the top 5 that we're now reduced down to after Alexander Kraft was punted off the circuit. And of course, Norbert decided to go to and oh dear! As I was searching for a metaphor, all of a sudden we then had a little bit of what looked to be contact. It looked like there was contact there, maybe just because it looked like the rear end of Neon just started to wiggle there ever so slightly in a way you wouldn't necessarily expect in straight line braking.
Luke Smith may take advantage of this battle up ahead because he's come right back into it. They've only got 10 laps left, incidentally, just under 10 laps left. And he could potentially do an absolute stunner. And well, he's on the podium for now, but we'll see where he can finish at the end of the race because I'm sure these guys can hold these tyres out for another 10 laps. I mean, we saw how long... who was it who went absolutely miles at Perroni? We saw how long he held out his mediums, and to be honest, he's far back enough that I think they would be just about safe, but it's based on driver skill, 100%. I don't... If they wanted to, they could absolutely not pit again. But it would be absolutely really, really difficult, as I don't know what's going on with Marcus Stall here. But he is down in 16th, so I think we may have a bit of desync here.
I think that potentially what we're seeing is a laps car, and then usually the default says, I'll talk about that in a second. Primoz with massive overspeed there. Gets the move done nice and early, and then really goes deep in the braking zone. That really, I think, will have compromised them now, as through the centre S they go. They've got barely a gap at all. And now it's side-by-side, bit of wheel banging between Neon and Primoz there. And now Luke Smith is getting the party as well. Luke Smith up the inside into the Sino Delago, turn 4. They give them a bit of space on the exit there, but they've been able to make the move stick. Luke Smith up into P2. What a brilliant move. Opportunistic move there. They tapped the back of the Red Bull. It looks like maybe, if not, then they got just so close that they'd be able to smell what Neon had for breakfast there. But now into the second sector they go, and it looks like Primoz maybe having a bit of a struggle here. They're now really looking to be at threat from 1 second as well. More so under threat than threatening Luke Smith ahead of them.
And as I said, this race has been anything but... This has been anything but boring. That's for certain. Whoa!
Oh dear, that's Marcus Stall having unlapped themselves on a brand new set of tyres, a la Esteban Ocon a few years ago. It looks like they've now cooked it, spun round, and that is probably all she wrote as far as their attempts to get into the points today are concerned. But in this
it's been a move!
Smith has made the move! What a brilliant, brilliant move round the outside in turn 1 and then up the inside in turn number 2. They're then going to stick nice and tight to the inside here. They're not going to give anything, but then they're re-on but 2 cars in contact! Contact between Moon, not Moon, sorry, Neon and Primoz. Primoz now tumbling after all those gaps were so close in the top few cars. And now Neon leads this Grand Prix ahead of Luke Smith. Luke Smith having just been absolutely monstered there by the 2 cars, but then presumably Neon just didn't see him. just did not see Primož there because, of course, Primož was overtaking on the inside, Neon on the outside, and then they've just come together at the apex. That is a real shame for Primož there, and a shame for, I think, us as well, because I think it's fair to say that we were really enjoying that battle.
I think at the end of the day, though, I'm not entirely sure that was Neon's fault. Because Neon was so far ahead of them that realistically he wouldn't have been able to see how close he was to the rear left tyre. And I think that was just a case of a tiny bit of a... at the end of the day, pretty much was not far enough alongside entering the corner. So I think, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure if Primož even had the position to take there. So I think that may have just been...
I'm not entirely certain myself either. I think that's one for the stewards, but for right now, it looks like it's the return of Luke Smith. Potentially, no, not on this occasion. I think that they are taking the sensible approach of let's stick behind Neon here and let's save up some ERS, because they have, for most of this race, been dangerously low. Will G now gets a move done on those fresher, softer tyres on Alexander Kraft, mirroring what we saw earlier on with Simon Bernier, of course, and now Will G, no, not Will G, sorry, Primož, their teammate.
I think he's got damage.
Trying to now recover and get up into the points, of course, back into P10, but you must say, you really feel for them after the really unfortunate set of circumstances they happen to find themselves in over the course of that one. But as things are then, back to this battle at the front. So 4/10 the gap then between Luke Smith and Neon. Luke Smith has been able to recharge a bit more ERS on this occasion. They've got the DRS open. They're not using the ERS. And now as they power down the start-finish straight, it's going to be an easy DRS-assisted move into turn number 1. Luke Smith retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. Then there's comes back behind JST in 1 second there. Having contact between the pair of them, I think, it looked like. 1 second, I think, has dropped down the order massively. Look at that. That's a real unfortunate set of circumstances for them. And now Neon and Luke Smith fighting one another down into the Sena Delago, and it looks like on this occasion, Luke Smith not under any threat of being repassed at all there. So Neon then potentially back into the position they would not like to be in, that being the pursuer rather than the pursued, because of course in that first stint they were having a really, really good time, keeping at the head of the DRS train, not losing the position, not being under a major threat from Primož, and then once they did get overtaken, it looked like they were going to repass on a number of occasions, but then just didn't seem so confident on the brakes, and it just was not really working for them. And then it was only through a massive amount of overspeed there, and of course then Luke Smith being the roadblock in the way of Primož as well, Primož having to go to the inside to get that move done. It was then the occasion when Neon looked convincingly able to repass and re-overtake. So as they head now down onto here, then we've got the Red Bull of Simon Perigny has caught the back of Leonard there. And Morgan Ball as well. Morgan Ball really slow on the DRS, on the main straight, I should say. DRS open on the Red Bull, and brilliant move from Simon Perigny. 2 Alpines in 1 straight. And there we go then. Up into P4 for the driver who was previously leading this Grand Prix on the alternate strategy, and now only 2 seconds off of the DRS train on much younger, much softer tyres. And could this be a late race upset from the driver who started outside of the top 10?
It's certainly been interesting once we see Cartonundi just rejoining the circuit back there. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, or why he's rejoining at that speed. But we will see what's going to happen here, because at the end of the day, this is still all to play for. Even like, you've only got 5 more laps, effectively. You've got most of the drivers still in a front pack. They're not far enough apart to really make too much of a difference, as I think there may have been a little mistake there. But Cartolundi's still on the track. Thankfully goes, as he knows, a nice little spin off the track. So that was a very nice moment to switch to Moon. Just to see a nice little spin. But it does look like these 2 Alpines are definitely going to still be continuing their battle, as we might actually have an overspeed in second place. The Alpines are definitely going to make that move. There goes Leonard around the outside. Making the move stick.
The old swapperoo going on at Alpine then, with the drivers getting themselves into a position where they can maybe make use of this DRS and get themselves up the order towards the back of the train, as Simon Perigny, who obviously overtook them a couple of laps ago now, is able to do just on virtue of the fact they have those much younger, softer tyres, as I've mentioned. And those softs, of course, able to go relatively deep in this race, and the first stint on those who started on them, on heavier tanks of fuel, of course, bearing in mind. So at this stage in the race, there'll be less degradation on those tyres, so they'll be more effective in a battle. And as I say that, Simon Perigny now within DRS range of JST, who has also picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So now JST at threat here of losing their podium. Of course, if Simon just stays where they are, they will get that podium, but they don't want third. They don't want a paltry third. No, no. They want to get up into second and even first in this race. They want to reclaim that win. That monster first stint on those medium tyres is now paying dividends. They have the DRS open. They're not making use of their ERS just yet, it seems, but they are closing and closing. Neon, of course, their teammate, wants to repass the Aston Martin of Luke Smith up at the front of this field to get that win for themselves. Neon qualifying on pole position, of course, and as things are then, things are incredibly close between these guys as we head into the last few laps of this Grand Prix. Through turn 4 they go then, one of the last opportunities to overtake, and up the inside there, 1 second, gets the move done on Moon there. And the Williams overtaking the Alfa Romeo for P7 in this race. Good move late on the brakes there. Awful lot of commitment required and an awful lot of trust in the guy that you're racing against as well. Good driving from the pair of those guys there. Now the Alpines up ahead of them. 2 seconds up the road. You can see them just in the front of shot there. Leonard and Morgan Ball versus one another here. And they are desperately trying to get onto the back of Simon Perigny, who is now on the back, very much so, of JST. Just 2.5 tenths separating Red Bull from AlphaTauri. And with the ERS now in activation, they go across the DRS detection line. They're definitely within that activation distance. And now across the activation line they go. So DRS open for this Red Bull. And it looks like JST is maybe just a little bit too far up the road on this occasion. Maybe making use of ERS themselves to try and close up to the back of Neon. But as things are then, things are incredibly close between these guys. Moon has also retired from this session.
This is going to go down to the wire. Because if Perigny gets any closer to JST, he will make the overtake. And Neon is not dropping back from Luke Smith. Luke Smith on 18 lap. He is on 2 lap younger tyres than Neon, so he is going to be going faster. None of these drivers will pit now. They will 100% try and take these tyres to the end of the race. My prediction regarding the fact that they weren't going to do a 2-stopper because it would be a bit silly has happened. And we're going to see if they can actually hold out, because those tyres will start losing grip soon. We're only a couple of laps from the end. And I'm hoping...
Yes, lap 34.
I was hoping your internet hadn't dropped then.
No, I was just being patient. I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
Oh, here we go.
As I'm sure all the people at home did as well. But now it's less about what we have to say and more about what we have to see here. So onto the start-finish straight we go then. Simon Perigny is right tucked up behind JST here in the AlphaTauri. Will there be a late dive to the inside, I wonder? No, not on this occasion. The Red Bull just keeps tucked in behind the AlphaTauri, but they're losing time, losing opportunities to get the moves done, to get this race win sorted. And now JST is just going to try and hang it all the way through turn number 3, down towards turn number 4 then. Will there be a late move? It looks like there is to the inside. No, not on this occasion. That's just my grainy stream. Never mind. It's all good. So, as they tuck in behind then, it looks like maybe Simon has just run out of laps here to be able to affect this move and make it all happen. They don't have enough ERS to make the attack happen. And, of course, the DRS is in operation as well. On the car that they are chasing, so it's not good for them in terms of trying to make that advantage happen. But will there be a move here? No, not on this occasion. So we've got Luke Smith, then Neon, then JST, then Simon Perigny. This is your battle, potentially for the win, certainly for the podium, and now maybe up the inside. No, not up the inside as they head down towards... Yes, he's there! He's there! Simon Perigny makes the move happen. They're going to have no DRS, I think, though, as they head... Or maybe they will, in fact. Yes, they do. You see there the letterbox rear wing opening up on the Red Bull. They're able to just defend. Try and defend into turn number 1. They go late braking from both drivers. The Red Bull hangs it all the way around the outside and then gets up ahead in turn number 2. They're then going through turn number 3. Down to that second DRS straight they go. Will there be a move? It looks like a massive overspeed from the AlphaTauri.
Oh!
Where's the outside? Turn number 4.
That's it.
So there we are then. So JST just losing out on that one. And now it is the final lap though. So unlikely that Simon Perigny is going to affect a move on their teammate here or on Luke Smith. It's very close between all these drivers.
Think he could, you know.
And you think so?
I think he could. If he can get this last part of the sector completed. The last part of sector 2 and the last... He's right on the back of the
now before they to shut down. Where does Simon finish? P2 or P3? Make it now.
Oh, I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say 2.
He's going to say 2, everybody. So Luke Smith is heading up the road now. They're nearly a second ahead, and it's going to be a resounding victory, a very, very impressive victory for...
He's out of fuel!
No! Simon Perigny is out of fuel! He's taken on the line! JST, they finish close enough. Yes, they do. They managed to finish close enough just to be able to get JST a bunch of penalties there. But oh my goodness gracious me, look how close it was. Oh, you've got to feel for them as well.
Oh my
what
goodness.
a brilliant performance from these drivers. Luke Smith takes a very, very impressive win, having started nowhere near the front of the grid there. Well, near the front of the grid, I suppose, but certainly not on the first two rows. They've then executed a brilliant strategy, going longer on their soft tyres, making up the places with moves on track. A deserved driver of the day, I would absolutely agree. And you must say, what a brilliant race we've been entertained to today. Luke Smith then comes out to take a win in PSGL at the final round in Season 29 in F3 here on PC. Flanking them is two Red Bull drivers either side of Neon, who of course qualified on pole and just lost out to Luke Smith there. I think the tyre offset of a couple of laps may have played a part in that as well. And then of course Simon Perrineau with a fantastic drive to the line there to reclaim.
It's just a shame about the fuel
as well.
It's just a shame about the fuel. I mean, I was just sat there and suddenly he dropped off and I was like, wait, mechanical fuel. And I was just like, these drivers push the absolute most out of that fuel. They will lower that to the absolute minimum, which could be an explanation of his fast lap times. But that being said, on this last race of the season, Sao Paulo, we got Luke Smith in first, Neon in second, Perrineau in third, topping out your podium. Then topping out to the 5, JST in 1 second, following up in fourth and fifth. Then Leonard, Morgan Ball, Alexander Kraft, Primoz Miklovic, I believe it's Primoz Miklovic, Milan, Joshua Pinar, Will G, Marcus Toll, Jake Finch, Top Jack, Moon, Harlem Marquis, Carter Lundy down in 18th, Norbert in 19th, and Sully in 20th. An absolutely stunning race to end the season, I'm sure you will agree.
I certainly do. I think that everybody would agree in their right minds here. And as you can see there, as has been pointed out in the chat as well, we've got Luke Smith having started 18th on the grid and taking the win. And we've then got Simon Perrineau starting 19th and coming up to third. So impressive drives from both drivers, I think. But I think the fact that that Luke was able to get that win rather than just a podium. I know that a podium, even in those circumstances, is incredibly, incredibly difficult. But
last to first.
Brilliant effort.
And almost last to first.
Almost last
to first to end the season. That is possibly one of the best drives I've seen from him. I will say that, because at the end of the day, we've always pegged him as being a fast driver this season. He's very much proven that. I would love to see how close the standings were at the end of the season, because I don't think they were as far apart as I'm thinking. So I would like to see that. Hopefully we'll be able to see that after the races. But oh my goodness, what an end to a season. I still cannot get over how much action was in that race. That was a stunning race.
That was brilliant. Yeah, that was a treat to behold. I think, it's fair to say.
Thank you, F1.
Oh, yes. Well, indeed, yes. I mean, I've still got... At least now I know that my issue is not with anything to do with my computer. It's just F1 causing some sort of network drop.
Absolutely.
So I'll have to send an email to Codemasters about that, I'm sure. And
a strongly worded email.
A strongly worded email, yes, indeed. Thank you everybody for watching then. We've got a good 30 or so people still watching at this point in the post, if you like. But of course, throughout that race, I saw numbers up into the 60s, maybe even 70 at one point. It was a well-watched race, I think it's fair to say. So yes, be on the lookout, of course, tomorrow for F1, where, of course, George Morgan, who was in the chat earlier on, I don't know if you're still there, sir. If you are, then hello. But he will, of course, be on the microphone for that one, rounding out the season in F1. I'm sure that we'll have a number of fantastic drivers. Is that tomorrow? Well, it's usually on a Thursday, isn't it?
So we have 2 on a Thursday. I'm interested now.
Ooh. Well, there we are then.
You may be right. You may be wrong. I don't know.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. We'll have to wait and see. Yes. So we're in a good spot for racing over the next day, because of course we will also have F2 sometime between now and then. And so thank you very much everybody for watching. Thank you very much, Scruffy, for joining me and for hosting up that stream on Discord so I could actually watch and commentate.
Yes.
Because F1 just doesn't like me for some reason.
I'm glad that held out and that my PC did hold its frame rate, because honestly, if it hadn't, that wouldn't have been anywhere near as exciting. That was amazing. Thank you very much as well. And thank you very much for co-commentating with the season as well, I think I should add, because obviously it's been the last race. Kind of don't want it to end, but hopefully I'll be back next season. I'd like to think I will be. And hopefully you are yourself as well, because I hope that's the case, because it's been really awesome.
Oh, thank you very much. This is very kind of you to say. Certainly, I hope to be back if they will have me.
Yes.
Then of course I shall. But of course that is for PSGL to decide. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And I think on that note, that is our season. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.